This is the lecture for Kathleen Wilkes's article, Multiple Personality and Personal Identity. So the first topic is commissurotomy cases or split brain cases. She talks about these briefly in the article and recaps some details of some features of some people who have had commissurotomies. And so just to add a little bit of background, the brain has two parts, I don't know, two lobes or whatever they're called. And then also there's like a third thing kind of in the back and whatever. And the two hemispheres are connected by this thing called the corpus callosum, which is like a, I don't know, they share a lot of information across that. And for various reasons, I think usually to treat epilepsy, they used to sometimes sever the corpus callosum, and then uh, it turns out you get some interesting results when you do that. And she talks about some of these in the article. And so this is just so like, I'm not sure if she ever sort of really explains what commissurotomy is. So that's just to give you a bit of background. And then one of the optional readings in the on Canvas is a paper by Nagel called Split Brains and the Concept of a Person or something, which is a really good article to read if you're interested in this topic. He ends up coming to a pretty similar conclusion as the one that Wilkes sort of reaches at the end of this article. And that brings us to the second topic, which is what Wilkes's own view is. She's pretty um, like cagey, pretty unclear about what exactly she thinks is going on in cases of multiple personality and personal identity. It's sort of hard to figure out, does she have a view on this topic? And if she has a view, what is her view? You'll notice, I think the last question on the reading quiz kind of points this out. It says like, what is the answer to this? But like, properly speaking, Wilkes doesn't really give us an answer. She just sort of suggests an answer, and then she doesn't tell us what she thinks about it. So um, I, it's not as if we can go beyond what she has written in the article, because she very clearly does not want to pick a view here. So that's fine. It's not like she has to have a view or something. But it like, it's worth thinking about, why does she not commit to the view that she kind of arrives at the end of the article? Is it because she thinks it's wrong, or is it just like she's not sure or something like this? Uh, and of course, it's worth thinking about, like, what do you think about this view, whether or not Wilkes thinks it's good? And again, it's not really clear whether she thinks it's good. I don't know. The way I read her, she's kind of leaning in that direction, but yeah, hard to tell. Um, and then in terms of understanding what we would classify Wilkes's view as, I think maybe it's hard to know, but it's close to something like conventionalism. And we haven't, I don't know, we haven't really seen conventionalism except, as I talked about in, I think, the Parfit lecture. There's a sense in which Parfit kind of leans towards conventionalism when he says personal identity doesn't matter. Uh, you know, conventionalism is the view that personal identity is a matter of sort of convention, such that how we describe things determines personal identity. And so if we describe things differently, there would be different truths about personal identity. And so, if personal identity can change merely on how we describe things, uh, maybe that means it doesn't really matter, or it doesn't matter in the ways that we might have thought it mattered. And specifically, maybe it doesn't matter in the ways that Parfit thinks it doesn't matter. So I don't know. It's worth thinking about, to what extent is the view that Wilkes proposes at the end similar to or different from Parfit. That's good to think about, especially because Wilkes has, among her other writings on this topic, like she has a book on personal identity where she's unhappy with a lot of the stuff Parfit does, largely because she thinks thinking about personal identity with thought experiments is not a good way to do this sort of thing. She thinks we need to focus on real people to come up with our ideas about personal identity. And of course, if you recall Parfit, he has lots and lots of thought experiments in his view. And in fact, a lot of the authors we've read have lots of thought experiments in their views. So Wilkes, in some ways, is trying to fight back against this, but does that lead her to a different theory of personal identity? I don't know. So yeah, that's Wilkes.